Maga was about to die for the 14th time. She had bitten into the rotten apple yet again. Its putrid flesh had, as always, infected her with Corin shade. The actress went through the motions of stumbling to her death while shouting her final words for all to hear. "Oh, but how wondrous a dream is life. Only now, too late, do I wake to see its Madrid of splendors," she bemoaned. With a puff of smoke and glittering powder, Kindred made its grand entrance upon the stage. As per tradition, they were played by one actor, his head covered by two opposing masks. He approached Maga, the white mask of Lamb facing her. "Hark, do I hear a plea for my keenest arrow? Come, child, let the warmth of your heart fade into the cold embrace of oblivion." Maga refused, as she had 13 times before. Any nuisance in her performance was buried beneath the ear-splitting delivery of her scream. On cue, Lamb spun around, revealing the second mask, that of Wolf. "There is naught ye can do to stave off thine end," Wolf growled. "I am but a poor young maiden. Please let my piteous cries fall on all four of thine ears." The audience seemed enwrapped by the unfolding dramatics of Ophelium Mechanicals. With the twin threats of plague and war on the tongues of those in neighboring protectorates, death dramas were all the rage. Denji, the actor portraying both Wolf and Lamb, descended upon the young actress, awkwardly barking wooden fangs. Maga offered her neck at the threat of Wolf's bite. She triggered the device woven into her blouse collar, ribbons of red fabric unspooned to the delighted pips and yelps of the audience. They'd gotten what they'd paid for. By the time the Mechanicals had staggered back into their wagon and set off in the direction of Needlebrook, there were no stars to be seen. Instead, a veil of clouds stretched across the night sky. Needlebrook always delivered a good audience. Lucian, the company's owner and sole dramaturg, explained once more. He staggered around, drunk on his own accolades, as well as the wine Parr had gifted from the locals. The night worn on, and the troupe had descended into bickering. Tria and Genji lamspurred their playwright over the quality of his plots, which fell into the predictable structure. Tragedy strikes maiden, death finds maiden, death takes maiden. Lucian argued that the complicated plots distracted from the good death scene. Maga, the youngest of the bunch, agreed with Tria and Genji's diagnosis, but kept her mouth shut. Had she not stowed away in the wandering troops' wagon, she would certainly be somewhere far more miserable. Luckily for her, the Mechanicals had recently lost several actors due to Lucian's insistence on complete artistic control. Because of his attitude and obvious mediocrity, they were facing the drought of fresh faces, and so the Opelium Mechanicals agreed to contract Maga to die in all their dramatics for the foreseeable future, for which she had been grateful. Lucian was still smarting from Genji's and Tria's words when he had motioned for Parr, their wagoner, to stop and make camp. The inebriated Utor set up his bedroll in pride of place next to the wagon. He then threw the rest of the bedding into the long grass nearby. "Ungrateful actors can sleep in the wilds," Lucian spat, "where they shall hopefully find their manners." The rest of the troupe built a fire and swapped stories. Denji and Tria had fallen asleep in each other's arms while whispering potential names for their unborn child into each other's ears. They had netted on about the day the traveling company would stop in Jandel, a town so perfect and so peaceful. They would set aside their vagabond ways and raise their child. Maga moved closer to the crackling fire so its pops and whistles would drown out the eersome affections of her traveling companions. But sleep never came. Instead, Maga tossed and turned, thinking about the looks of the audience face as the coiled sprouts of blood unfurled from her neckline. A pretty maiden struck dead by her own naivety was all the theater pomp the Lucian could muster. But the crowd lusted after the gruesome facade. Eventually, she left her bedroll and set out into the woods to soothe her unsettled mind.